reject righteous and scriptural leadership, are we headed toward rebellion or restoration? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, the Torah portion, Qorach. I'm going to pick up where we left off yesterday. Again, in the book of Numbers, or Bamidbar, chapter number 16, and I want to reread again for us verse number 3. And they assembled against Moshe and against Aaron and said to them, enough of you, listen to this, for all the congregation is set apart, all of them, and Yahweh is in their midst. If you remember all the way back in the book of Exodus or Shemot, chapter number 17, not long after they had been fresh out of the land of Mitzrayim, they came to a place where that they were thirsty and they were needing water. And the children of Israel grumbled and complained, and they asked this question in verse 7, is Yahweh in our midst or not? Well, now it seems that they have answered that question. For here they are saying, Yahweh is in their midst. Yah is here. Well, I'm glad that they figured that part out. But let's also remember the most recent circumstances. 10 men out of 12 have gone into the land, and instead of being a tourist to look around and to see what the lay of the land was and the best routes might be to enter into the land, they saw themselves as those doing military reconnaissance. They were setting themselves up for failure because of their vantage point and their perspective. So they came back with a slanderous, maligning report about the very land of inheritance that Yah had promised to Israel. Because the people complained and wept bitterly and rejected the land, Yah said, okay, you're going to die in the wilderness, and I'll take your sons and daughters in, your next generation. Doubt and unbelief caused then the loss of an entire generation. These people are now rising up, and they're saying, look, Dathan and Abiram argue the point a little bit later on, and they say, we had milk and honey in Mitzrayim. And you offered us this grand proposal of a new land, a land of our ancestors, and now we're not going. And they're mad. I understand them being mad, but it's not Moshe and Aaron's fault. They tried to get them to go into the land. They did not pronounce arbitrarily on their own this curse upon this generation. Yah did that. So the same people that are rejecting Yah, his plan, his inheritance, his way, his word, his promise, his covenant, are now start standing up and blaming someone else for the fallout of that. When you walk contrary to Yah's word, there's always somebody else that's the fault of that. When you're walking in disobedience and disobedient fruit begins to show up, it's not somebody else's fault, it's our own. But here we have them, and they're arguing. All the congregation is set apart, Moshe. Not just you, not just Aaron. All of us are equally set apart. Yah is in the midst of everybody, buddy, cousin, and you've over-exalted yourself. And where you have over-exalted yourself, you brought us all down. So who are you to be lording over us? Does this sound familiar? Is this not some of the same arguments that we had when what came out of where it was that we were? I'm not saying that we shouldn't have left or we shouldn't be walking according to a Hebraic focus of the word, the entire word. But it's the same heart and the same mindset sometimes that we've carried over from one camp to the other. There is a trend, and I find it far too often within Hebraic root circles, whether it's congregational settings or a home group setting, where No one's supposed to be in charge. And we have this carryover angst and animosity against those who would rise up and try to be a leader. If a man takes leadership upon himself, or a woman for that matter, if one takes upon themselves a self-credentialed mantle of leadership, I understand where there would be perhaps an issue. But the biblical model is that when a group meets, whether it's a small group or a large group, something in between, when there are people involved, people need to be led. People need to be instructed. Somebody has to step up to the plate with a shepherd's heart, with a pastoral understanding, who loves and cares for those who are assembling, and take on the responsibility and the accountability of what happens to this group. Some are better skilled at this than others. I get that. I can tell you that I've been at this for 40 years-ish, and it's taken me a long time to begin to learn some things. I've made some choices that I regret, but I also have those instances where God gave me wisdom and showed me what to do. But the consistent factor in the middle of that is a love and a concern and a desire to care for people, to lead them, to grow them, to get them to go further, which means I have to do the same. Everybody needs that. Everyone needs someone to help them. No one is sufficient to themselves. No one can stand up and say, don't need any of you. I can do this all by myself. I'm out of here. And those who do that will find themselves isolated, will find themselves regressing. They're not going to grow effectively or spiritually in a meaningful manner, because it's not just about us. It's about those that we enable to grow with us. And as a leader, it's not about trouncing upon or treading upon other people to elevate yourself. It's about taking people and pushing them up. The goal is to grow people and push them up, to help them to be elevated. So we have lost trust in a lot of places, trust in leadership. If you have a good leader, if you have a good teacher, preacher, pastor, shepherd, acknowledge them, encourage them, pray for them, listen to them, ask meaningful questions. The idea of asking gotcha questions to try to trip them up and make yourself look good in the congregation, no one gets anything out of that. But when we're curious, when we're wanting to know, when we're inquisitive, when we're learning, that's a good and effective thing. Study and show yourself approved. Yah may choose you. And here's the other fallout on this. It's a very dangerous one. When Qorach said, we're all holy, we're all set apart, we're all equal to you, Moshe, it could be, and I think it was, that he might be saying, Moshe, you the one been coming down off the mountain and handing out this Torah that you say and you claim that you heard from the very mouth of Yah, our Creator? Well, we can also hear, and we're capable of writing our own Torah. This Torah that you've given to us, it elevates classes. The Levites are above everybody. And it's just too much. We want to redistribute the power, the wealth, and the authority around here. Sound familiar? Every man can be able to then to discern the voice of Yah and write his own Torah, and every man can come up with his own understanding of what Yah is saying to him and live by that. I should not be bound by what you think Yah has said. Now we understand perhaps the need of leadership. Someone has to be accountable to make sure that correct doctrine, correct wording, and that solid foundational teachings are being offered. We can explore ideas and get in the weeds a little bit, but we need solid ground to come back to and to walk rightly in. need to pick up here again tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you. Shalom.